based on the zoning committee's input. Would you hand that down, please? So what I did here was a screenshot of there are 8 standards. I did a screenshot of those 8 standards, and then my comments are in bold italics. So just to recap, there was a cul-de-sac with 6 parcels. Those 6 parcels were owned by 4 individuals. And those parcels represented basically home, vacant lot, and a camper lot. So it was kind of a good test, if you will. And again, that was the intent, was to take a look at it and learn 2 things. Find out what the process was, and then what their feedback was going to be. And that's where we are today. Because there's well over 1,000 lots within this general area that are an issue. So briefly, standard number 1, additional property of the proposed zoning classification is needed. First of all, we didn't ask for any additional property, so that standard is irrelevant, in my opinion. But my observation is the standard additional property does not pertain to the rezoning request. The zoning committee's attempt to justify ignores the facts that rezoning to residential low density would ensure adequate property tax revenue. And that's what this is all about, it's tax revenue. It's what I've been saying since day 1. Protect homeowners' economic value by eliminating camping on sites without a primary residence. Because remember, you got a residence, you can have camper there. And support positive economic development. So that's my observation to what was listed here. What you're going to see, this italics here is what the zoning committee documented as their justification. And this one particularly shows lot 39, they're all the same. But they state that the desired residential low density development is available in the current recreational residential zoning classification. If that were a true statement, there'd only be 1 zoning classification, not 2. I'll get into that in a minute. Second standard, the principal use and accessory uses thereto authorized under the proposed zoning classification are unlikely to impair the use, enjoyment, or economic value of neighboring properties. My observation is that this is, again, a false statement. The proposed zoning classification does not allow for the same residential use unless a special exception is allowed. Common sense dictates that the town would not change the zoning classification and then allow for the same use. Doing so would serve no purpose. One of the 5 members brought this up, Randy Cook, and he said, well, why does it matter? You could do the same thing. Well, that's not true. If, in fact, the parcels were changed, the rezoning occurred, and someone came to this board and said, hey, I want a special exception. Yes or no, would you grant me that special exception? Well, we would have input, and we would make a decision. So the statement as recorded in the justifications is wrong. And you can tell what this is starting to look like. So the next item, third standard. The principal uses and accessory uses thereto authorized under the proposed zoning classification are unlikely to endanger the public health and safety. The proposed zoning classification would not endanger public health and safety. Got it. And you'll notice every single one of these is the same little rubber stamped answer, justification. 4th standard, principal uses and accessory uses thereto authorized under the proposed zoning classification are unlikely to cause an unreasonable adverse impact on air quality, groundwater, surface water, or natural vegetation if located. The zoning committee's answer, once again, same as above, when they go on to say that it would be the same as the current recreational residential zoning classification. The reality, that the proposed zoning classification would not cause an adverse impact on air quality, groundwater, surface water, or natural vegetation. In fact, it would benefit the proposed area by eliminating what can only be described as a current 300-plus site unlicensed campground that does not have a wastewater dump station. Same rubber stamp justification. Standard number 5, the principal uses and accessory uses thereto authorized under the proposed zoning classification are unlikely to cause unreasonable adverse impact on historically significant features. It doesn't pertain, we don't have any historical features out there that would change in any manner. Standard 6, the principal uses and accessory uses thereto authorized under the proposed zoning classification are unlikely to impair the normal development of neighboring properties that are located in the area. They gave us the same stamp. Here's reality. Rezoning to residential low density would directly support the normal development of neighboring properties. Only homes and accessory structures would be constructed in a housing development. A campsite is not a normal development of neighboring properties. Standard number 7, the proposed zoning classification is unlikely to cause undesirable land use patterns. This is a false statement, their response. The committee knew that the 6 parcels initially submitted were to determine the process and feedback. The committee knew that the town's intent was to rezone all non-lakefront parcels on the east side of Red Cedar Lake, and that doing so would replicate the west side of Red Cedar Lake. For those of you that attended the meeting, you heard the zoning committee say, don't look at anything when you drive out there. Don't look at all the campers, don't look at all the stuff. Just go to that little parcel and take a look at that little 6 parcels and nothing else. Number 8, last one. The proposed zoning classification is consistent with the county land use plan or land use plan of the affected town or neighboring municipality. And the county zoning committee says the current zoning classification of recreational residential is consistent with the Berrien County It's consistent, okay. Well, what they stated was that the petitioner did not provide sufficient evidence of the public necessity to warrant rezoning. The petition failed to meet any of the 8 rezoning standards, and the landowner is opposed to the petition submitted by the petitioner. Well, my observation is, of course, the campsite landowners are opposed to the petition to rezone for the following reasons. 1, LLBC and the campers know that they've breached their purchase contract documents. LLBC and campers know that they're in violation of the LLBC's covenants and restrictions. That specifically state campers and camping are not allowed. LLBC and campers know they are in violation of Judge Boyle's ruling, and the zoning committee conveniently forgot to mention that 2 of the 4 landowners within the petition cul-de-sac area were in favor of rezoning. My observation is it was really just a sham proceeding. There is no doubt that that board was influenced. There is no doubt, in my opinion, that it was just a check the block kind of drill. Corey, Mary, are you got any comments on these justifications that the zoning committee prepared?
No. Well, I was seeing it, I like to see it, yeah.
I'm sorry, Mary, I didn't hear.
I hadn't seen those, so I'd like to have them and read them. I guess something there.
That's,
There's a recording.
you said that's what the zoning committee gave to the planning board, correct?
Yeah, yes, correct. One of the 5 members, Audrey, I can't pronounce her last name, she actually made a good observation. It was actually a testimony because everything in this here was a testimony. She stated that these 8 standards don't pertain. Why are we looking at them?
She said these don't pertain to the action.
And I agree that they don't pertain to our requests.
That's their zoning standards.
So that's what it is. That's my feedback to you. You know, take it for what it's worth. What you want to do, and then the town will have to decide what we want to do, if anything. So, although I don't normally do it, I'll let anyone have any input. Please go ahead.
I was at the zoning meetings and there were presentations presented. Can those be given to the taxpayers? Because I haven't seen what was presented at the zoning meeting, other than sitting there with it up on the screen.
I think the answer is yes, but they're going to charge you for it. They're going to charge like 25 cents a page.
Isn't it yours? I mean, the taxpayers paid for that, didn't we? What you presented is a
Oh,
taxpayer
you're talking
document.
just what I presented?
Yes, that's all I want.
Yeah.
I'd like to read
I have
it.
no problem with that. It's public information.
Right,
Yeah.
so can we put it up on the website? And I can ask Dave Gifford for the zoning meeting so I can read both of them. I mean, you're running through this 3 months later, so people forget.
The presentation is public record, and yeah, I can get it up there. And the good news is, a person who attended did put it out there, which was good, because he really educated a lot of people.
It's out on the website?
No, this was on the
It's on
YouTube
YouTube.
channel.
Well, yeah, I'd listen to it, I'd like to thumb through it, and if I wanna print it off, I can.
Mhm.
There's a lot of history in it.
I agree, yeah, I'm just taking a note, Liz. Yeah, not a problem.
Thanks.
Okay. So, what does that mean? Yes,
I
go
would
ahead.
recommend that the board secure the entire thing from Barron County, even if it costs you, so you have it in your files for any future reference. You don't need to get your own, but everything else. The presentation that Gifford gave, and then all the testimony.
Okay. Oh, yes,
Ken, I just have one question.
sure.
We're going through, I followed the whole thing too, been to Barron, been to all the meetings. I do remember though, a meeting back when we were planning on starting the rezoning. And I remember you mentioned, we'll take this to Barron, we'll do the rezoning. If it goes, it goes. If it doesn't, we're done. We'll come back to our constituents. Now, are you going against your word here, or is there more that I'm not understanding about the whole situation?
I can't do anything personally, it takes a board decision, because it would be an actionable item. But I'm sharing the information that became available in the last couple of weeks, and because we don't hold closed unlawful meetings, I wait to share this information in a public forum. So am I changing? No. We've also learned more information. Because remember what I said was that the two reasons we did the 6 was to find out what's going on and find out the procedure. We got that. Now, whether we do anything beyond this, don't know. That's yet to be determined. But I can tell you, the results, in my opinion, were pathetic. One gentleman's asleep in the meeting. I was shut down. Other individuals in there parroted information that was given to them by individuals that were not elected. So in other words, if it smells bad, it's bad. People ask me, why am I working this? And the reason I'm working this, my life would be a lot easier not doing this, doing this topic here. But the reason I'm doing this is because it's all about revenue. And it's highly likely that there's going to be even more development. I'm a member of the Beach Club, also one of our parcels in the Beach Club. So I went to the Beach Club's meeting on Saturday, and there was a developer there talking about how he's developing lots. And that's fine. I don't care. The Beach Club can do what they want to do, but when their issues spill over into a town issue, and I'll define that strictly as a revenue shortfall, that's the issue. That's my concern about the revenue shortfall. So the easy thing is to say, forget it, let's just let it happen. And then when your taxes go up and you've got hundreds of folks that are paying less than $2, we already have 300 some, on average paying less than $2 a month and getting the same services homeowners are paying. If you're okay with that, I'm okay with that. But there's a lot of constituents that contacted me and said, hey, I want you to work this, and that's what I was elected to do. So no, I'm not going back on anything.
Can I make-
Yeah, of course.
And also, Phyllis, I intended to be at the meetings in Barron, but I was unable to come home at the last minute. So I did ask Ken to get some written record of what happened so that I could see it. But the fact that he doesn't, we don't pass it back and forth until it's made mention of in a meeting, which is why I just said, could I see a copy of it now? But I did make a request from out of town that because I couldn't be there, I'd like to actually read what was said, beginning to end. So it's, he's not just doing it by himself. There was another person, me, as a town member and a board member, that wanted to be privy to that information. And I think it's public record, and I just wanted to make sure that I knew everything that went on.
What I'm looking at here is Wisconsin Town Association, May 20th. This is a magazine that we just got last week. And you're hearing me complain about the county's performance. That's correct. I'm complaining about the county's performance. But obviously, there are many, many other towns within the state of Wisconsin that have the same issue. I'm going to read just little bits and pieces out of this, and just for information purposes, decide whether we want to do anything in the future. Yep. This is the 2023 Wisconsin Act number 264. It is entitled Town Withdrawal from County Zoning. For county general zoning, a town must opt in to the general zoning ordinance for that ordinance to apply to the town, and I believe our town did that in 2002. And we've learned a lot since 2002. Once again, a town can generally only opt out of the county zoning ordinance if the county agrees or after the county adopts a comprehensive revision of its zoning ordinance. Comprehensive revision means a complete rewrite of an existing zoning ordinance. So some counties avoid conducting comprehensive revisions for decades in order to maintain control and keep towns from being able to opt out of county zoning. Why would they do that? I don't know. All the fees, they don't go to us, they go to them. Coincidentally, I get this piece of paper from Dave Gifford, Director of Land Services, and it states that public notice is hereby given to all persons in the county of Barron, Wisconsin, that a public hearing will be held on Tuesday, June 4th of 2024. And what they're going to do are the hearing is on amendments to section such and such. 18 amendments. 18 amendments just this morning. So, okay, they're doing their amendments. That's fine. They amend. So if, in fact, the town board were to decide, hey, let's pull zoning back under our umbrella, we'll take care of it, we could ask the county and they could say, no, too bad. We could wait until a comprehensive revision is done, which is probably never going to happen. But now that the state, many towns within the state have had the same issue, to the point where they were able to organize and have legislation passed in that towns can now withdraw if they choose to. But there's a timeline to it. Act 264 empowers towns by creating a new procedure by which any town statewide may choose to withdraw from county zoning without county approval or comprehensive revision of the county ordinance. This new procedure begins with the town board's adoption of a resolution stating the board's intent to withdraw from the county ordinance. Then the town board must create a town zoning ordinance, comprehensive plan, and an official map, providing copies of each of the county clerk. The town should use the existing county ordinance as a starting point when creating their own zoning scheme, in addition to expert legal and planning assistance. Finally, at least 2 years after adoption of the initial resolution, the town board must adopt a second resolution informing the county board of the town's withdrawal. Now, there's a timeline, and it makes sense. You don't want to jump into this too quickly. It states that the initial resolution can't be submitted until 2027, and then there would be a 2-year window to create the zoning, and then the final resolution would become effective in 2029 if a town chooses to do this. The reason towns looking to utilize the process under Act 264 to opt out of county general zoning should remain patient as a Wisconsin Town Association and land use experts statewide consider the full implications of the law change and create guidance on best how to utilize it. So anyway, hot off the press, the truth changes by the minute. Let's kind of wait and see what we got going here.
I found that to be interesting when it came out in this article, the most current to me, it was timely, and given what we just went through, what many other, I didn't realize there were as many townships that were struggling with the same thing. And I know that this township gave their zoning privileges back in 2002, I think.
I think so.
I think right, I think I remember that date. And because I didn't, I was curious, why did they do that, you know? And I don't have any historical knowledge of that, Kelly.
You know what, may I comment on that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why did they do that?
One of the reasons that happened was because of the enforcement that state dwelling codes had come out with that had to be enforced. You needed someone that was trained to take care of the items that appear in the ordinances and enforce them. And at that time, the township did not have anyone within the township that would be able to be qualified to do those issues. The second thing was the cost. If we were to hire someone to come in and be our person in that particular position, then we would have to pay them salary to be able to do that.
Okay.
So those were two reasons at the time that we talked about that.
I mean, I was around then, but I wasn't involved, so.
My initial, go ahead, Tony.
Well, I was on the commission that helped decide that issue.
Oh,
And
okay.
the reason that the town didn't is we're just too small of a town. It required enforcement, like she said, but also we had to come up with a planning strategy and 5-year plan for future zoning, and it was just, it was really meant more for the larger townships. And I think this thing that you're talking about is probably for larger townships, because they're getting more involved with the larger populations, and they're attached to big cities. But this is a small town, and that's why we did it.
So
It
the
wasn't
state,
cost effective at all.
so the state came up with,
Right.
this is what you have to do if you wanna
And
keep your own.
Right, and
Exactly.
since then, the state has changed their zoning so that the county more resembles the state ordinances. Our lake, for example, now people can fix their boathouses. Well, we couldn't do it before, or couldn't do it up to a percentage because of the county zoning where the DNR that restricted it. And then they went back to the state zoning, and that was something that Governor Walker did, and now people can improve their property. So there's a lot of things that are going on that has changed since then, but I can't imagine that the cost would be any less for the town to take over that responsibility.
Yeah, obviously, we're not gonna solve this here. This is just hot off the press. I'm just sharing it with you because it was related to the justifications. And my initial take would have been the same. Why not have the county take care of the headache? We hired we select the uniform dwelling code or building inspector to help us out. So it really makes perfect sense. And so I'm not criticizing that. What I am criticizing is what the county zoning committee, the process that they just did. That's just me. You guys might love, some of you might love what they did, some of you might hate what they did. I'm just sharing my observations because these are the justifications that you all needed to see.
I'm anxious to see those actually. Like,
Yeah, it's literally, no, this, I will send you this as
Thank
PDF, and Mary Hall, that's what I handed you, and that'll be posted in the minutes. So this is it, this is the whole thing. It's
we talked
not,
about it, but I knew.
yeah, it's not what Liz is asking for, which is all the input that came in, that's different.
Okay.
This
Well,
is
it's
just-
not necessarily the input, it's the PDF presentations
Okay.
that were presented by you and by the zoning committee.
Yeah, I'd like to see, that's what Kathy's talking about, the zoning.
I don't
I'd
care
like to see
about
that
the
too.
So you
Tom
don't want
Jones
the
wrote
testimony? You
in.
don't
Yeah,
want
I
the
mean, I
testimony?
heard him once.
Okay.
What I want to understand is the PowerPoints, because those weren't shared after the meeting.
Okay.
Which I think as a taxpayer, that should have been posted on our website immediately.
And I would like to see the county post everything on their website
Yeah.
versus
Well, I agree with
charging
you.
us.
I'm not disagreeing, Ken. But that was for all the taxpayers.
I wish that request would have been made because it would have been easily accomplished.
We shouldn't have to make it.
Oh,
All right, we're going off on a tangent here. So, why are we even talking about this? Once again, we're talking about this because of the 300 plus and growing campsites. And Tony and the other board members could have never predicted that. No kidding. They could not have. And I think they did the right thing with saying zoning, let's send it over to the county. I would have done the same thing. But the reason we pursued zoning was because right now the only people getting rich are the attorneys. There are lawsuits flying over there, multiple lawsuits flying, and the attorneys are cashing in. So the only solution was to pursue rezoning. And had that occurred, and we may still pursue that, I don't know, we're not gonna talk about that tonight unless Tori wanna talk about it. The only solution was to change zoning so that it was no longer a permitted use that you see out there right now. Two different zoning titles, two different zoning rules. So what they're saying in here is not true. It's not the same. So that's why that was pursued. But let's wait and see. Let's wait and see what the budget looks like this fall. Let's wait and see if there's gonna be a levy increase. Let's wait and see how many more folks are gonna get the same services that you're getting.
Wow.
Mary, Cory,
No, I did not get a copy of that, but I will soon handle a copy of the board when it sends
Can
it
I ask a
to you.
question?
yeah, I'm gonna shoot it to the whole board. And I just got my hands. Yeah, Gladys, you got a question? Go ahead.
What are the lawsuits that are going on over there? I
I
don't
could
know.
never ask a question and I was
I'm not going to, you and I can meet afterwards and talk about that, because that's each club business, and we're not in beach club business, we are in the business of when there are issues spill over.
There's other lawsuits going, you're saying?
Yes. Did you go to the meeting Saturday?
No, but I asked the board members afterwards what happened, what was about the lawsuit, and they said it's being resolved. There's only one.
Well, they didn't answer the question correctly. You and I can talk about that one-on-one, we can do that, but I'm not gonna go into that right here. But my issue is when they have their issues that spill over and cause us a revenue shortfall, and I've said that since day one, but we can talk about the other lawsuits. I would refer you to Jim Ludwig, president of the
I talked
law
to
board.
Jim. He's the
Okay.
one that told me.
Yeah,
There's one lawsuit.
He's missing a few things, but we can talk later. Gotcha. Okay.
Wow.
Okay, enough of that. Any last chance, last questions, comments, we're gonna do.
Can I have a question?
Yes.
Coming up in the anyway, so you can.
Yep.
Can't hear.
The 18 amendments that you're talking about being proposed in June, are those just proposed at this time? Or are they being adopted? And do you have a list of those by any chance? Have you been provided the 18 amendments that you're talking about?
I have the 18 paragraphs, and if you want, you can, no, seriously, I looked at them, they reference just paragraphs. You can take a copy of this, you can scan it, shoot it to you.
Shoot my email.
Okay. Make it better.
Look at that, this copy.
Okay.
She can have this.
Well,
Corey,
based
do
on-
you guys, did you get these, or is just Mary Helen?
I did not see that, but
I didn't.
You
the
guys
answer,
can get one of those?
I don't think so.
I got that one in the mail, and then I got this one from them on the email.
Yeah, they don't always send it to the whole board.
There's a disclaimer on the bottom there that
And I
says,
got.
a detailed list of the proposed changes was emailed to the town clerk. So, proposed changes is the word.
Yeah, that's why there's
And I don't.
there's a hearing coming up, so it has to be voted on. My point was,
I can certainly forward that one to all of you if you want me to. I just got this printed today, so I can forward it. Some of it looks like it's redacted.
yeah, would you please, would you, Mary Ellen, would you please show that to the board?
Reading that.
Small tiny print.
Okay.
I'll look at it when Mary Helen sends it over.
Number 9, new business land